We now have online with us, this is part of our Start by Collaborating segment. We have Vince Scuncio. Welcome, Vince.
Hi, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Great. So, Vince, let's start out. Tell our listeners about your company first, and then we'll get into how we're collaborating together.
Okay. Well, my company, I'm a real estate broker, real estate and residential mortgage broker, and I am known as the Attorneys Realtor. I've been on your show once before and talked a little bit about how my practice is set up specifically to assist attorneys and their clients who have a real estate or mortgage need. Okay. So that's, in a nutshell, what I do.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the collaboration. You know, what is the benefit of an attorney? First off, what type of attorneys do you typically work with? Because not all attorneys fit this particular segment of business. Correct.
Well, I primarily work with family law attorneys, which is the collaboration you and I were talking about.
Right.
What we find, based on our discussions we've had in the past, is that, you get a couple that have built a life together. They bought a home, they have retirement, they've built assets, and then they're getting divorced. Usually one spouse, not always, but in most cases, the husband is the primary driver of of the assets, of building the career and everything. And the other spouse isn't as aware of all the people that are involved in that, right? The financial advisors, the realtors, the life insurance, and all those other things.
Right. And you know what, I'll chime in and say, that's the beauty of this type of collaboration, because if you get, a divorce attorney or family law attorney, and they have a client, and most clients that come to a family law attorney have some level of assets, otherwise they would just go to a mediator or just to the court system themselves. So if they have some level of assets, those assets can be a combination of their home, their savings, their retirement, their life insurance. Sometimes the savings are inside the life insurance. And very importantly, there's a business involved in a lot of these. How do you deal with all of that? So that's why we talk about a collaboration. So, Vince, you help the attorneys deal with real estate and mortgage. What do you typically find happens when the attorney brings you the client and there's property involved?
Well, about 70% of all divorces have real estate involved in there. It's somewhere, and so they have to do something with it. They're either going to sell the property, they're going to refinance the spouse off, or they're going to create some kind of note from one spouse to the other, so that the person that's not living in the home anymore is either going to get their equity out of it or get their name off the property. So when I get that referral, we're looking at one of those or two of those three scenarios, which is either they're selling it or they're refinancing it. Where you come into play and where the collaboration, I think, is going to be so great is that a lot of times they then there's going to be some kind of gain to have some money out of it. And usually, like one party knows what they have to all their people in place. So they know what they're going to do with their proceeds. It's the other party that's getting half the retirement, that's getting half the proceeds. And they're not savvy as far as the money goes, and if they don't have the right advisors, they're going to make poor decisions. So having you and I, where you're collaborating on the financial side of it, it's huge, because most of these people, they're coming out of this divorce, they're not making good decisions as it is because they're so emotionally distraught. And then, they're going to get this big check and not really know what to do with it. And the first thing they usually think is, well, I'll go buy a house cash. That may not be your best route. Mm-hmm.
Right. And, one of the things that I find in the financial advisory role is, your family is usually made up. It doesn't always work this way, and sometimes it's flipped from husband to wife, but the family is made up of one person that generates the income, and a lot of times that person handles all the business affairs and the financial affairs and what have you, and the other person, is involved with the kids and the school and the PTA and all of the other things, and they really don't share in information. So there's oftentimes one of the spouses that's off in the dark about how to do all this stuff, and how do they deal with it with the attorney and the courts, and there's so much lost in the middle. That's why the collaboration is so important here.
Well, I think the other thing that makes it important is that unfortunately my industry is very transactional. If the person who's selling the house in the divorce is going to use their mother, brother, cousin, sister. That person is probably more interested in the commission and getting the house sold, and not really looking at the bigger picture of, okay, now that you've sold the house and you have all this money, what are you going to do with it, that's going to help you in the long term, instead of just saying, hey, let's go buy another home. They're not collaborating with a professional such as yourself that says, there might be a better way of spending this money or saving it or investing it so that when the divorce is all settled 3-5 years down the road, you're not, house rich and cash poor.
Right. Right. You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KCBQ, streaming live at AM1170theanswer.com. Give us a tweet at CloseUpSD. Email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com or find our page on Facebook. We want to hear from you. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with Andrea Kay, Urban Miaris, and our guest is Mr. Vince Scuncio from Smart Sale San Diego, I believe. So,
hey, Vince, I have a question. This is Urban. What about estate attorneys? You deal with them much?
We do. They're not our primary focus, but really our focus is any attorney who has clients that have a real estate need. So, not all estate attorneys deal with the estate after the passing. Some of them just set up the trust. But yeah, we do work with estate planning attorneys when they have that need for their clients. We work with a lot of fiduciaries who, are working on behalf of their clients that have to sell a property or have to refinance the beneficiaries off.
Yeah, there's so much need for that estate, and we think about estate attorneys, which is kind of estate planning, but the estate attorneys get involved in the wills and the probates and what have you, for those that haven't set up trusts, and there's always distribution of assets, and that can be, cash, mutual funds, retirement plans, real estate. There's a lot of stuff to distribute.
Isn't that where the surprise relatives show up? Ancestry.com.
Yeah, the brothers and sisters you never knew you had.
Yeah. So we collaborate with all of the different attorneys and try to find solutions that are outside the box for our clients. One of the things, Vince, and we started this segment of the show off with a little podcast development for Urban Talks. Maybe one of the things we can do is you and I can create some podcasts ourselves, have you come in the studio with us, and see if we can develop some materials to send off to some of the attorneys that can use it with their clients.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because I think there's a lot of information. There's a lot going on in a divorce, and usually when they're meeting with their clients, like, okay, let's divide the assets, and you go your way and you go your way. But there's also the after effect, right? And once that divorce is final, then what? Yeah.
Well, I know that I have one, I don't know how I want to call this an advantage, but I'll call it an advantage over you, is that I've been through the divorce process, and it's not a lot of fun. Okay, I know you're single from being widowed, or however you say that.
Widower.
Yeah, widower. And you know what? My hat's off to you for just getting through all that. Yeah. But it's having the experience and the knowledge and knowing how to work with the other professionals, because if you think about it, if you take a real estate professional that does nothing but transactional work and gets called by an attorney once in a career, how do they really know how to deal with the divorce issues? And it can really create problems. So the collaboration comes in not only from our connections together, but the experiential side of it. So, and this is virtually all you do is work through attorneys. Am I correct?
Correct. And the thing to think about is it's hard enough when you're selling a home for someone. When I'm representing a seller, it's hard to get a husband and wife who like each other to agree on things, right? And you take two people that are in the midst of a pretty gnarly divorce, and get them to agree on price and concessions and repairs. That not to tout my own horn, but that takes a special kind of patience that most transactional realtors don't want or have. And again, where this collaboration comes into play so much is that, instead of just taking that, I'm going to sell your home and that's it, there's a bigger picture. And maybe I'm a glutton for punishment of getting involved in it, but, you have two good people that just aren't a good match for each other, that are trying to go their separate ways. And you gotta play the middle of it without having that attorney-client privilege. With one party tells me, I gotta tell the other, and vice versa. So the collaboration itself is I think is going to be amazing when we get it out there to these attorneys. I think they're just going to latch onto it like man in the desert.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Well, we are starting to run short on time. Vince, tell our listeners how they find out more about your company.
Well, you can give me a call at my office at 760-729-8550. You can reach me online, www.vincescuncio.com. That's Scuncio. Or follow me on Twitter on Inside the Law.
Great. Hey, I appreciate you being with us, and I look forward to following up on some of the collaborations that we're talking about.
Me too. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Okay. This is Close Up on San Diego Business Center, KCBQ, streaming live at AM1170theanswer.com. Send us a tweet at CloseUpSD or just find our page on Facebook. You can always email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com. Let me know what you think. I'm your host, Barry Waxler. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.